is continuing to boil in South Africa. The president of South Africa is calling for a possible help collaboration from President John Dramani Mahama.
President Mahama of Ghana has been saying he would like to make a call on other African countries to work with South Africa.
On the other hand, we have 687 Ghanaians that were successfully brought home over the weekend. What are the details? That is why I like to see it to give you all the KE setting. So on the 27th of May 2026, the very first batch of Ghanaians that were scared to be in South Africa, that petitioned with Ghana High Commission in South Africa, Pretoria, that they want to come home, were successfully brought home. Again, over the weekend, that is Saturday and Sunday, 687 Ghanaians were successfully brought from South Africa, where a few of them shared what they went through in South Africa, the things that happened in South Africa, the dark side, the light side of South Africa, and all that.
Life goes on.
But you know, after this particular successful repatriation, one person that is actually trending is the president of South Africa, President Cyril, right? Because he is asking for help from the president of Ghana. Why is he asking for this help? You know, it dates all the way back to around 31st May, June 2026, when the president of Ghana actually went to UK, London, for Ghana-UK Investment Summit. He actually spoke on the xenophobic attacks that are going in South Africa 2 times. He had a summit with Ghanaians at the diaspora, right, where he mentioned everything that is going on in South Africa and the fact that one country cannot survive in isolation.
Recently, we've always pushed for African unity, and so it's sad to see some of the things that are happening on the continent. There's no way that any African country can achieve the kind of progress that it needs without working with other countries. We cannot achieve it in isolation. And that is why we passed the African Continental Free Trade Area, so that our people can invest in each other's countries, our people can move freely amongst each other's countries. Ghana is actioning this. Recently, we have made visas to our country for all African passport holders free of charge. You know,
during that same summit on 1st June, he went to Chatham House, a house that actually discussed international policies of presidents, discussed countries and all that. And he was granted an interview at this house, right, where he said that whatever that is going on in South Africa is more or less like a flare-up from apartheid. What actually happens to them? It's like they are still holding on to the frustration, their mindset and all of that. Maybe the president should have ways to curb unemployment and all that. And that all Africans should come together and help South Africa because they need it.
I think it's unfortunate what is happening in South Africa. We need to drill down to what causes these flare-ups in terms of xenophobia. I think that there might be some structural issues in there that are a carryover of the apartheid era. And so all of us must empathize with South Africa, or must sympathize with South Africa. And we must help South Africa to be able to drill down and find out what it can do to reduce the unemployment rates amongst the black populations, and to also change the mindset that people who have come to your country are taking your jobs. You know, really, let all the Africans leave. After the last fellow African leaves, is it going to change unemployment among blacks in South Africa?
So the president of South Africa, President Cyril, actually saw these particular interviews and, you know, remarks from President John Dramani Mahama. And yesterday, he was at the Union Building at Pretoria, and SABC actually asked for an interview. And it was through the interview that he said that, you see, right now, they wanted all the other African countries to actually reason with them, whatever that is going on in South Africa, they reason with them, all the attacks and all of that, they reason with them that it is because of unemployment, hardship in the community, that is why everything is going on. But right now, they know. He is calling on all other Africans to come together and solve the entire thing. In fact, calling particularly on the president of Ghana, President John Dramani Mahama, because President John Dramani Mahama proposed that all of us should come together and help South Africa. So he will be sending an invoice to Ghana, or maybe the president of Ghana, so that you'll be able to list the things that will help curb all the things that are going on in South Africa.
relocation is quite complex. It has a number of elements to it, and we want to address all those elements fully, and they contain tasks that we must fulfill and also asks that we want to put forward to a number of other countries. In the past, we've always sought for others to understand. This time around, we will be saying we want to work together, work with us, and I'm rather pleased that President Mahama of Ghana has been saying he would like to make a call on other African countries to work with South Africa. And that is precisely what has triggered our intention to send envoys so that they can go and explain the type of initiatives, type of programs that we are going to embark upon. Because in the end, this is an African problem. It's not only a South African problem. We are all involved in this. There's various countries on the continent that experience precisely what we are going through.
But hold on, before you flare up and be angry that he waited so long and all of that before coming out and da-da-da, you know, he went ahead to actually give a speech, and on the speech, he said that from today, as I am talking to you, that was yesterday. So from yesterday, no South African citizen has the right to go out and then ask anyone for their passports. Illegal foreigners are going to be handled by possible authorities. No one, in fact, no one should touch any foreign national living in South Africa after Ghanaians brought back home 987 citizens.
No other person is allowed, for example, to confront someone in the street, in the pathways of our country, to demand proof of identity. We know that South Africans are not xenophobic, as there is no space for xenophobia, for racism, for sexism, for Afrophobia, or any other form of intolerance in South Africa. As communities and as a society, we must not be tempted to join those who want us to turn against people who were not born in South Africa and who are in our midst. We will and must not allow groups to use the legitimate concerns of South Africans to destabilize our country through inciting lawlessness and violence.
And right now, he is taking charge. I said it earlier that, you know, everything that is going on in South Africa is as a result of failed immigration. The authorities, if you were sure that no illegal foreigner coming to South Africa, all this wouldn't happen. So the president of South Africa also went ahead to list some of the things that South Africa will be doing now to curb everything that is going on, the xenophobic attacks that are going on in South Africa. And one of them is that they are going to relocate their border refugee camps from, you know, the cities to probably the borders, so that everyone that is coming to seek for asylum or help will be able to be helped right at the border.
We will undertake a phased relocation of refugee reception centers to border posts, starting with Tshwane Center this current year. Many other countries have refugee reception centers that are close to the place where refugees enter the country seeking asylum or refuge. The relocation of refugee reception centers closer to our borders is intended to ensure that asylum applications are processed more efficiently, more securely, and more fairly. This will enable government to determine protection needs at the point of entry to ensure that those who genuinely require protection receive assistance as quickly as possible.
And two, they are going to make sure that they invest in modern technology to ensure that all their borders are very secured.
We will therefore continue to invest in modern technology, infrastructure, and personnel to ensure that our borders are secure while facilitating legitimate trade, travel, and economic activity.
But, you know, to end it, still, The president of South Africa went ahead to say that if you are an employer in South Africa, you own a business, a legitimate business, right? And then you go ahead to employ undocumented nationals in South Africa. The person that did the employment, you are either going to, not either, you are not even going to be fined. You are going to be imprisoned. In fact, they are increasing the chances that you are going to be imprisoned.
The South African Police Service, Home Affairs, and the Department of Employment and Labour are increasing inspections, targeting companies employing undocumented foreign nationals. As part of rebuilding labour enforcement capacity, the Department of Employment and Labour has launched the phased recruitment of 10,000 inspectors for this financial year, as I announced during the State of the Nation address. We're going to increase the penalties, including imprisonment, for employers who violate our Immigration Act. We cannot have a situation where employers who, after being charged and found guilty of violating our laws, merely pay a fine and continue employing undocumented foreign nationals whom they exploit.
But we can look at the issue of undocumentation in so many different ways, right? Because some of the Ghanaians and most of the other nationals from other African countries, right, said that most of them do not want to stay in South Africa undocumented. But the process to go through to get the documents are what is forcing them to be there illegally. Sometimes you have to pay an officer because they want to be paid for every 6 months. They will make sure that every 6 months, the one that they will give you that will locate your stay, you know, they will give you the every 6 months. So every 6 months, they will put it out, you become illegal. Every 6 months, they will put it out, you become illegal. Kofie. You know, at least the president of South Africa is out to, you know, calm the entire thing. We hope that this doesn't just end as worse, but efforts are put in place. The securities, the authorities go out there to ensure that people are safe. This is Gossip 24. Kindly leave what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to also please subscribe. You leave a comment, you share, and then you like. This is Gossip 24 again. The room is bright because my name is light. Bye.
The Voice of Africa. Please like, comment, and subscribe.